Developing tonight, senators arrive back in Washington, D.C. and back to work in just 2 days. But instead of 52 Republicans hammering out a health care deal, Mitch McConnell is hinting at 100 senators getting a seat at the table. So is this a real possibility, or is the majority leader leveling some subtle threats to his fellow Republican senators? Joining me now is Mercedes Schlapp. She's a Republican strategist, and Mo Alithi is founder of Georgetown University's Institute of Politics and Public Service, and both are Fox News contributors. Mercy, so now we're headed into July. It's late July. By the time they get back. Where did this go off track? And do you think they can actually get it back on track before the sort of soft August 1st deadline?
Well, first, Dan, I love how you use the word threat, if he's threatening these Republicans. I'm going to say he's putting enormous pressure on these Republicans to try to come together and find common ground. And look, this was one of the reasons why Mitch McConnell was hoping to try to get a bill done before the July break. What happens is that these senators are going home, they're talking to constituents, and a lot of them are finding, whether it be organized individuals telling them they don't like the bill, or other constituents basically saying, what are you guys going to do? Are you going to finally have a repeal Obamacare? And so these Republican senators are coming back, I almost think, just a little unsure of where this is going to go. With that being said, I think that Republicans need to take note. If they do not pass a bill, and this is an imperfect bill, I think there's a lot of room for amendments here, you're going to lose an opportunity to really have significant entitlement reform. And allowing the Democrats into this process, they're focused on one thing alone. They talk about fixing Obamacare, but it is like putting a tiny little Band-Aid on a very deep wound, and it would be a very weak bill if it would be coming from the Democrats as well.
Mo, do you think that the Democrats are basically holding their breath, thinking, oh, maybe we're actually going to get a seat at the table? I mean, do they really want one? Would they accept it if it was offered?
Yeah, I think so. I think they would. I think they would take a seat at the table. I think, look, there are a lot of Democrats out there who politically it's in their interest to want to do something to make Obamacare work better. And I think what the Senate Majority Leader said today that actually kind of validates that Democratic argument that you don't need to scrap the whole thing, that you can actually find some fixes to make this thing work better. And, you know, you preface this, Dana, by saying, you know, is he issuing an implicit or a subtle threat? He hasn't been subtle in making this threat, right? Just a couple of weeks ago said to Republicans, if we don't get this done, we will be forced to work with Democrats.
Well, I think he's
God forbid that the two sides come together.
Well, I do think he's being realistic and trying to say,
That's
Mercy,
right,
that we've got to get this done. Mercy, how does the majority leader both try to cater to the conservatives who want to maybe go in a different direction, like the Cruz amendment, and then you have the moderates who are saying, I don't think I can actually get there? How do you craft a compromise between those two on the Republican side before you even take it to the floor to think about amendments with Democrats?
Well, first of all, I think that the Republicans need to realize that if the Democrats were to be brought into the process, you're talking about a very weak bill. That means that Medicaid expansion stays in place. That means that the exchanges that are falling apart stay in place. You're talking about bailout money to insurance companies. So you can find common ground in the fact that there is this urgency of having the moderates and Republicans come together. With that being said, there is going to come to a point where they need to agree on certain provisions. That being, I think they're going to have to leave some of that Medicaid expansion in place. I think that they're going to have to obviously keep the pre-existing conditions. That is one of the selling points that even the Trump administration is pushing for. And the big question here, and this is why the Cruz-Lee amendment actually makes sense, and I could see moderates supporting it, is the fact that you would push for regulatory reform in terms of allowing the insurance companies that they would have to be compliant, pushing forward an Obamacare plan, but they're also able to design other products as well as allow, for examples, for tax incentives, like allowing health savings accounts that you could use to lower the premiums.
Well, there's certainly a lot to talk about, and Mo, well, sorry we don't have enough time to delve into all of it, but obviously when we get back next week, we'd love to have you back so we can figure out what is going on. Thank you so much.
Thank you.